Okay, so once your dog is weaving through two straight poles and has a success rate of 80% or above and can work around the clock from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, you're ready to add a second set of poles. You're going to leave your first set of poles straight and add your second set of poles at 45 degrees, just like you did when you were first starting with the first set of poles. So you've got two poles straight and your second set, just like you see right there, at 45 degrees. You're going to send your dog through just like you did when you first started, and you're going to reward your dog right down the line on the imaginary weave pole line, and your dog should weave through the first set of poles like they've been doing and then go through the second set of poles at 45 degrees. You want to start back closer because you've probably been working further away from the poles trying to get more distance. You'll see me in the video working back about 8 to 10 feet just because I'm trying to speed up this training video, but you should probably go in to probably 3 or 5 feet away from the poles, whatever you need to do to have your dog be successful as you're starting this next phase of training. So go in closer to the poles, start to work around the clock again, and send your dog into the first set of poles and the second set of poles. Don't be surprised if your dog takes longer learning to go through the second set of poles than they did through just the first set of poles.
Yes, good girl, Baba. Good. Yes, good.
You'll notice coming up that as we move to the other side, there's an area where Jayla has difficulty finding the entrance to the weave poles. It's been a consistent problem with her, and it's an area that we have to work on a regular basis. Notice how I only give her a couple of chances before we just make it easier for her to find the entry. You're going to find, if you haven't already, that your dog finds one part of the weave poles or one side of the weave poles easier to do than another. Do not hesitate to make it easier for them after just one or two tries. We want our dogs to be successful, and we want them to feel very rewarded for even trying what they're doing.
Yes.
Notice when Jayla doesn't get the correct entry, that I don't correct her, I don't tell her, no, you got that wrong, no, you know how to do this. I don't tell her, you're a bad girl. I'm only praising her when she gets it right. Even if she gets it wrong, I will sometimes even tell her, wow, that was really hard, Jayla, let's try that again. It's all about praising your dog for trying. You don't ever want to correct them or tell them they can try harder or that they really do know how to do this, just try harder. It's all about praising them. So just keep that in mind because it's a difficult process and it's challenging. It can be frustrating for both you and your dog. So just keep that in mind as you go through this process.
Good.
Now, if I was just training Jayla on the weave poles 2x2s for the first time, I wouldn't be moving on to the next step and closing the second set of poles right now. I'd continue working around the clock until she was getting her entries at 80% or more at all places around the clock, including the side over here where she's having difficulty. But for the purposes of this training video, I'm going to move on and show you how to start closing the angle on the second set of poles. So right now, you've been working with the first set of poles straight along the weave pole line and the second set at a 45-degree angle. To start closing the second set, you want to keep the first set where it is at a straight line, and the second set move to a 30-degree angle. Just like you were working with the first set of poles, close it to about 30%. 30 degrees, not 30%.
Good girl, yeah, so we can get under the puppy on the other turn. Yes, good girl. Yes, good girl. Yes, good girl. Good job. Yes. Good girl. That was beautiful. That Yes. Good girl, Gina. That was so pretty. Oh, yes. Good girl. Okay. Come on, Jimmy. Here we go. Come on, Jimmy. Kitty. Okay. Good girl. Kitty, 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 kitty. Good girl. Yeah.
Notice that during the last break, and then during some of the upcoming breaks, that we've started closing the second set of poles. You'll not want to close them as quickly as we are in the training video. Once you've hit that point where you're working at a distance and you have a success rate of your dog finding the entries of about 80% around the clock, then you'll want to start closing your poles about 5 degrees at a time until you get to the point where you're 5 degrees open on your second set of poles, and then just close them about an inch at a time until your poles are straight. You'll want to make sure that you've got that distance and you've got that success rate around the clock every time you close the poles.
Yes. Good job. Oh, almost. You practically decided not to. Yes. Good.
So you'll notice we're back to Jayla's difficult part of the weaves. You'll notice that I'm doing a few things here to help her. I'm definitely making sure that she's lined up straight toward the entry. I'm making her back up so she's not creeping ahead of me and she can see the angle that I want her to be taking. I'm also taking a step forward. And then again, you'll notice that I'm asking her to stay behind me so that I can take a step in front of her and she can clearly read where it is that I'm wanting her to go.
Good job. Yay.
Okay, we're assuming that we've worked around the clock at all of the distances between 3 to 5 feet and all the way out to 8 to 10 feet. And we have a success rate of 80% or more of Jayla finding the entries. So we've moved the poles straight along the weave pole line. Let's see how she does.
Yeah, good girl. That was a nice catch, too. Yeah, good girl. Yes, good job. Yay, Gina. That was so pretty. Hey,
Don't forget, tons and tons of praise and reward for your dog that gets something that's really, really hard for them. Happy training!